faced before or will ever face again. Perfectly ultimate great Moth!
Hello everybody, Nick and Rancy for Kids here once again, this time with another casual deck. This one more casual maybe than the ones that I usually play, and as you can tell by the title, it is a perfectly ultimate great Moth deck. One reason I wanted to make this deck, besides the fact that I never ran a deck like this one before, and I've always wanted to actually play perfectly ultimate great Moth, even though it's such a horrible card, is because I recently started GOAT format challenges titled Perfectly Ultimate GOAT Challenges on the Jinzo and Tonic Discord, and one of the challenges is to summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, and I wanted to showcase a deck like that and spread the word at the same time. This deck is pretty straightforward. There are actually a number of ways to build this deck, which I'll mention a bit later, but I'll first explain the way that I built this deck. So of course, first of all, I want it to be as consistent as possible in summoning Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. So we have 3 Petite Moths and 3 Cocoon of Evolution. As far as the Moths go, I only wanted to summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, so I'm only playing Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth instead of also Great Moth. And obviously you're never going to play Lava Moth because that's one of the worst cards in existence. But I'm playing 2 Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. You don't really need to play 3 because you're going to be waiting 6 turns before you can summon it anyway. So that's 6 extra draws to draw into your Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. If you wanted, you could play a 3rd, or you could play like a Great Moth in here, but I found that this worked out pretty well. I almost always, except for in one case, had Perfect Ultimate Great Moth by the time I actually could summon it. Then next up here, we have ways to summon our Petite Moth. I decided to go for Giant Rat. 3 Giant Rats. Again, I wanted it to be as consistent as possible. You could, instead of Giant Rat, play Howling Insect, which is a level 3 and 1200 attack, and summons any insect with 1500 or less attack from your deck. But the advantage there, of course, is that it's level 3, so if your opponent is playing like level in Area B or something, you can still attack with it. However, it does have weaker stats. It does let you summon the monster in defense mode as well, but if you're summoning Petite Moth anyway, you're kind of screwed. The reason I decided to go for Giant Rat instead is, as I mentioned, the higher stats as well. We can summon Exiled Force with it, and we can summon one of the other cards, Prickle Fairy, which is a level 4 Earth Plant, 300 2000, and it says your opponent cannot attack insect monsters. That's the most important part of this. So while Prickle Fairy is out, your opponent can't attack your Petite Moth. So it's a way to stop them from killing your Moth while it's leveling up. One good thing is if they attack into it, then you can normal summon Petite Moth and then put Cocoon of Evolution on it. It'll have 0 attack, but they have to kill the Prickle Fairy first. And also any monster that Prickle Fairy is attacked by goes to defense position, so you can run it back over with a Giant Rat or something like that. And of course, we're running 1 Sangan, and I chose to run 1 Breaker just because it's a decent card, and it can stop the opponent from using certain cards that'll stop you from getting your combo off. There are other cards you could put in this place, but I didn't choose to play those ones. Then of course I have Charity, Pot. I don't play Duo because all I want to do is summon my Great Moth. I don't care what my opponent is doing nearly as much. You could play Duo if you wanted to, but I decided not to. We have a Heavy Storm. Might not even choose to play Heavy Storm, but again, trying as much as possible to make it so that I can actually summon Great Moth without it getting immediately destroyed. Then we have 3 Messenger of Peace. This is a better choice over something like Level Limit because you want to be able to attack with your Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth after you summon it. and you definitely can't do that with level limit out. You'd have to end up destroying your own level limit to do so. But with Messenger Piece, monsters with 1500 or more attack cannot attack, and once you're going to summon your Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, you could stop paying for it, and then summon your Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, and then you can attack. Then I have True Nobleman to stop annoying flips, and we don't play any flips. MST, of course, Premature Burial, Snatch Steal just because it's good. It's possible you could just get rid of Snatch Steal, but it's good removal. And then 2 Upstarts just to up consistency, because you do want to be able to pick up the pieces for our crappy 6-turn combo. As well, I'm running Call the Haunted, of course, to summon Petite Moth or Prickle Fairy or Giant Rat from the graveyard. And 3 Solemn Judgment to keep the opponent from activating cards to destroy our Great Moth or our Petite Moth or Cocoon of Evolution. And then 2 Wall Revealing Light. It's possible you could fit in a third, but again, we're playing this over the level limit cards because it only stops the opponent's monsters from attacking. Although it does become difficult alongside Solemn Judgment to be able to pay that many life points. So it is a bit difficult, and another reason why I only have 2. We also could possibly take out Ring of Destruction, because again, we're going to have pretty low life points. But I was using it in the build that I actually summoned Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth with, so that's why it's here. You could probably take it out for something else, like another one of these, which is Magic Jammer. It is a counter trap that lets you discard a card to negate a spell, which is pretty helpful to stop the opponent from using something like Heavy Storm, destroy our Cocoon of Evolution, or Messengers of Peace, or Wall of Revealing Light, or any spell that's going to otherwise disrupt us. I actually ended up using this. It was a godsend that I had this in the main deck against an opponent that was running a mill deck, so that I could actually summon Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth by stopping their important spells that they needed to be able to combo off themselves. And that is pretty much the deck. Now for alternatives, other than including Howling Insect in the deck, something that you could do is, because of Prickle Fairy, it says specifically cannot attack insect monsters. You could include the old combo of DNA Surgery to turn all monsters into insects, so it just stops the opponent from attacking even itself. And of course, you could also include another copy of Insect Barrier. I tried to figure out how to fit that in the deck, but it was a little bit difficult to find space. For you yourself, you could find space if you like. As well, there's the duo that you could play if you wanted. Infecting Virus. If you wanted, you could actually turn this into a Thousand-Eyes Restrict deck as like a side strategy and include Sinister Serpent as well, because Petite Moth is a level 1, but at that point you're just playing a completely different deck. That's just like if you want to make the opponent say even more what the heck is going on. Also, you could play My Body as a Shield to stop the opponent's own Infecting Virus or Torrential Tribute, which we don't play Torrential Tribute in this deck because we don't want to destroy our own Petite Moth. And there's another Magic Jammer that you could include. And as well, there are 2 7 Tools of the Bandit that I have on the side because they're good for stopping Torrential Tribute and Mirror Force. And a lot of opponents also like to use Compulsory Evacuation Device, which, returning our Petite Moth to our hand, really sucks. And especially Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, you get to summon it and then they return it right back to your hand, and all of that was for nothing. Overall, I had a lot of fun playing this deck, even though it's so bad. It's funny because everything in this deck is actually pretty powerful, except for Petite Moth, Cocoon of Evolution, and Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. So the cards you're actually trying to play are the worst cards in the deck, which is funny, but I actually almost won a lot of games where I never even drew those cards, and all I was doing was like Giant Rat Beatdown and having Prickle Fairy to protect my life points. Something you could also play in this deck is Sakuretsu Armor to stop the opponent's attacks, or something like Threatening Roar or Wabaku, but I decided to go with these stall cards instead. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As well, I will leave in the description a link to the Jinzo and Tonic Discord and a link to the challenges so you can see what they're all about. Thank you very much, and have a good one.